Nikki Flicks. This is our Supergirl episode 10 review of season 3. Devin's here with me, and this was a good episode. Wasn't great. There's a lot that bothered me about this episode. So many times in this episode, they were talking like, who could possibly stop Rain? Who could be strong enough to... Martian Manhunter. Martian Manhunter. Martian Manhunter.
But then when they finally sent him out,
he barely did anything. I think because they spent the whole entire CG budget on the Legion ship, which looked great. That shot of the Legion ship coming out of the water reminded me, the CG wasn't nearly as good, but it reminded me of the shot in Star Trek Into Darkness when the Enterprise comes out of the water in that opening sequence and then beams Spock out of the volcano.
And then makes religion.
Yeah, creates a religion.
Whoops.
But we start with this episode, we're in Supergirl's apartment and Brainiac 5 is knocking at the door. So he comes in. I don't like him at first. I like him less. I dislike him less at the end of the episode than I did at the beginning of the episode. But when he first walked in, I was like, don't like this guy. He has the bluish white paint on his face that does not look good. He literally
skin showing through.
Yeah, it wasn't good makeup. I could do better makeup with this on a $3 budget. He had the jewels on his head. At least he had the Brainiac jewels on his head. But they had this shirt on him that literally just looked like an Under Armour shirt with the three Brainiac dots just printed on it. So that...
Hey, at least they had the lines connecting the...
They did have the lines connected, yeah. But we have Brainiac 5. We find out this is just Supergirl's subconscious, that she's not really in her apartment, that she's in coma from the last episode, that she got defeated by Rain.
Yeah, like Brainiac was saying, you look well for someone in a coma, and she's like, what?
What? I'm confused, because you don't know that you're dreaming, that sort of thing.
Oh, unless you're a lucid dreamer like me.
Well, so we go to the Legion's ship where find out that she's in, you called this first, a Bacta tank inside the Legion's ship.
They've actually shown them before. They were in the, when they first found the ship, they were all in the...
the stasis pods, yeah. The thing I realized at first was like, well, she's gonna drown in that thing because she didn't have any, like, air mask on. At least when Luke was in that Bacta tank in Empire Strikes Back, he had a rebreather on so that he could still breathe. But I guess Supergirl doesn't have to breathe?
No, those tanks, you don't need something to breathe.
That always confused me.
Yeah, that's weird.
I'll accept that as future tech.
Yeah.
But we go through this episode with them realizing that Rain is fighting crime in a brutal, brutal way. She wants to kill all the criminals, and she wants to kill anybody who gave mercy to criminals, and that won't let her execute criminals. She feels like all criminals should be executed. She thinks that this world has been eaten by sin, which is a very Christian concept, which I didn't understand why a Kryptonian who's been possessed by some magical entity would think this way. So we go through the episode in Kara's brain. She pets a cat in her brain, Streaky the cat.
Yes, they were using the name of the super cat, Streaky. They had a black cat instead of an orange cat.
And Streaky is the name of Supergirl's cat also in the comics. But you're referring to, is that a Super Friends episode where they had Streaky the cat?
There was like this whole line of super animals, along with, in the same vein as Crypto. There was a monkey, there was a horse, there was a cat, Streaky.
See, I've heard of this, but I never even...
There's a squirrel.
I noticed Streaky, and I noticed that because I knew that was Supergirl's cat. But you're saying there's a whole line of super animals that I didn't know about. I'm gonna have to research this.
You didn't know about this?
I've heard about it at some point, but I didn't know that Streaky was one of them. I didn't know that they actually had, like, names that were known to people that just out of common knowledge, but I did like that callback to the comic book with Streaky the cat.
It was the wrong color, but at least they had it.
Adaptations of characters don't matter. I mean, they casted the cutest available cat. They casted the best cat for the job. Didn't matter what color it was. That's our political commentary.
Cat didn't even know what was going on.
No, cat didn't know what was going on. Well, maybe you're suggesting the cats aren't sentient, but that's just one thing that we're gonna have to explore in future episodes of Supergirl. Will we ever see Streaky the super cat again? But we realize that she needs to discover herself as Kara Danvers, that she needs to accept that she is Kara Danvers. That's the best part of herself, that Supergirl is just the mask.
Yeah, because like Alex had told her to
suppress her human side when fighting Rain.
Just fight.
But Kara Danvers is the best.
Yeah, that didn't turn out too well. Just letting go of her human self.
Because Kara Danvers is the best part of Supergirl.
Yeah, and Alex said that.
Yeah.
And within Brainiac 5's earshot.
Because without that, she's just this cold Kryptonian. I mean, Kryptonian Kryptonians, as a people, we've seen it. They're not necessarily an evil people, but they're not a warm people. They're not people that are empathetic, necessarily. They believe in a cold justice that isn't lined up with what Kara Danvers believes in, necessarily. And that's where Rain comes in. She's this symbol of cold Kryptonian justice that is gonna swoop in and laser vision everything that Kara stands up for. We saw them take on Rain. They have this sundown protocol, I think they called it, and they had red sun grenades, which were used in Injustice Volume 2, where Batman used a red sun grenade on Superman to even the playing field so he could fight him. They also had the sound cannons from Batman vs. Superman, and then they had kryptonite on top of that from the meteor that Chad Lowe had before. So I liked all three of those callbacks, because two of them were callbacks to other properties that we've seen this used before. We've seen a yellow sun grenade in this show before, not a red sun grenade before, so I appreciated the red sun grenade. But this is the point where we notice that Rain isn't just Kryptonian. They said earlier in episodes she's an acclamation of both science and magic. So
Kryptonian science and
yes. So she has some sort of resistance to kryptonite, to the red sun. Her power doesn't just draw from the yellow sun. It draws from something much darker. But the final fight sequence with the Legion ship comes in, the CG looks great. They're trying to save a prison. Chad Lowe's there, and he's bowing before Rain now. His faith is so easily shaken, he thought that Supergirl was his god before, and now he's viewing Rain as his god. And so now it seems that Chad Lowe's gonna have an alliance with Rain. He's really, his faith is very shaky, unless this is one of those things where he's aiding Rain to fulfill some sort of prophecy that Supergirl has to defeat Rain, and he's working with Rain to put the prophecy into place. That's what I think it is, because the previous episodes that Chad Lowe has been on, I haven't gotten a malicious intent from him. He just seems more misguided than anything. Seems like a creepy cult leader, but more of a misguided creepy cult leader than a cult leader that's trying to get a bunch of people killed themselves. He wanted to get a bunch of people to be saved by Supergirl. But the Bon Jovi music, we have to comment on that. She's tearing up this prison, this pretty good hallway scene where she really showcases all of her abilities pretty well. And then we hear the Bon Jovi music. We can't do that because we don't have the rights to the song. But what did you think of the Bon Jovi music? To me, this reminded me of the episode where they went to Mars, and then the Britney Spears music started playing, and then Kara was in the convertible. What did you think of the Bon Jovi music? Did you like the use of it, or did you think it was kind of cheap? I remember when it came on, you were like, hell yeah, it's the Legion.
Because I was thinking of when the Immigrant song showed up in Thor.
Oh yeah, rock and roll is pretty good at invoking badassery and superhero properties. Yeah, that's not as good of a song though. I mean, I like Bon Jovi, but it's not really a battle song.
Well, it's Mon-El's wife was talking about Mon-El having given them all the culture that they know.
Shakespeare, Michelangelo, Bon Jovi. Yeah,
yeah.
I do like that. I did appreciate the callback, and she called back to that twice. She did say a line from that Bon Jovi song about the characters in the Bon Jovi song.
Using it like a quote.
So she did it like a quote, like from Shakespeare. So it was called back to 3 times. I did appreciate the callback. It's not a badass song to battle to. Finally, we get to this battle though. They put on their Legion costumes, which are pretty, not very colorless. They're kind of monochromatic black with the hint of their comic book colors. Like Saturn Girl has like this pinkish fuchsia color that's hinted with her black, and then Brainiac 5 is like black and blue, and Mon-El is black and blue with like these gold clamps on it. They don't look like bad costumes, they're just not very colorful. But we finally see the Legion rings again, and they put on the Legion rings. They don't work like the Legion rings in the comic books where the Legion rings time travel. I mean, that's the Legion that I know. The rings make them time travel. But Mon-El puts on this Legion ring and he can fly, which he couldn't do last season.
Maybe there are different rings that do different stuff.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Since this Legion is using a time ship, maybe this is an earlier adaptation of the Legion. They haven't developed the ring technology to the point where they can time travel using just the rings. Because that tells me the fact that they're using a time ship means that they don't have the technology with the rings yet. Now, the ring that's in the Superman's Fortress of Solitude, the Legion ring that's in there that we saw a few seasons ago, that one I think time travels. Because I know you didn't watch Smallville. Smallville did a couple of Legion arcs works. And when I first saw this version of Brainiac 5, I was hoping for the Smallville version of Brainiac 5, because that version, not that it was an outstanding version of the character, but they played it just like a Data-type android where it mostly looked human. They didn't even use any makeup on him. He just said, I am the brain interactive construct. I am Brainiac 5. I'm a good guy now. And they didn't have him have green makeup on or anything else. But I kind of wish they just made him look human and just put 3 jewels on his head so that we knew that he was part of the Brainiac system. But they have this final battle. We finally get Martian Manhunter, and they're getting some action. He uses, it's not a new power necessarily, it's just a new use of the power. Yes. They show him, he grabs his opponent, and he drags them underground, and he smacks Rain around underground, and then they both come out of the ground.
Actually,
it's kind
with
of a
the
standoff.
Condition that he came out in, it kind of seems like Rain was bashing him
It seemed
around.
like Rain did beat him, yeah. It seemed like Rain bested him in that combat. And you know,
Rain came out fine, and she was flying up, but he got, like, launched out and was still kind of intangible and went through the he had his arm through the ground when he came solid again.
So I think we can both agree. Rain is powerful in a way that Supergirl isn't. There's something more to her power. Because they said in season 1 of Supergirl, Martian Manhunter is the most powerful being on the planet. And that is what Superman says about him. So, Martian Manhunter, it should be a pretty even fight between them. But yeah, she seemed to handle him pretty well. And it wasn't just Martian Manhunter. It was Mon-El, it was Saturn Girl, it was Brainiac 5 with the spaceship, and then finally Supergirl came in, and even she got bested by Rain. The only reason why she defeated Rain was just because she had the kryptonite syringe. So Rain retreats back to her Fortress of Sanctuary, they're calling it. Chad Lowe's there, and Kryptonian Witch is there. I'm not sure who this Kryptonian Witch is, what her motivation was for sending Rain to Earth. I would like to see another flashback episode to Krypton just to see what the motive of sending this world killer to Earth was. Why this lady from Krypton wanted to kill humans. I don't know if we'll ever get the answer to that, but now Chad Lowe is helping her. They say the Kryptonian words, stronger together, and that's something that Supergirl's team usually says. And I like how they've kind of flipped it on its head, and now it has an evil context to it. Other things about this episode. Anything that you liked in particularly or really didn't like?
I noticed that with the kryptonite syringe, that's kind of like when Superman had to go to Doomsday and do the thing in Batman vs. Superman.
Yeah, you thought that, I hear what you're saying, a Kryptonian, had to use kryptonite as a weapon against another Kryptonian entity. Yeah. It's a dangerous play because you're bringing the one thing that can kill you to stop your opponent. And it could have had lethal consequences for Supergirl. It didn't at this point, but
she had a bit of the green show up on
oh yeah, it was definitely hurting her. And this is another spot where they clearly want you to know. I hope, at least, I hope that this is their intent, the writer's intent, that they want you to know that Rain is clearly more powerful because she is resisting the kryptonite in a way that Kara never could. Kara was suffering the effects as much as Rain was when it was injected into Rain's bloodstream, and Kara was experiencing that just in the vicinity
proximity.
Yeah, just because of proximity. So kryptonite has a reduced effect on Rain.
Heavily reduced.
So I don't know how they're gonna stop her. There's a magic element. Constantine's on Earth 1. I don't think we're gonna see him, but maybe there's some sort of magic person, some sort of magical entity on Earth 33 or Earth 38? Earth 38.
33.
It's Earth 38. But we've never really seen any magical user on Earth 38 before, besides Banshee. I think Banshee was the only one that we saw use any sort of magic. Like, she was a metahuman, but she was a magic-based metahuman. That was during the Flash crossover in Season 1, where she teamed up with, Banshee teamed up with Livewire. And speaking of which, I think we're getting another Livewire episode, next week, possibly, so stay tuned for that, if I'm mistaken. Anything else in particular that you loved, that you didn't love? As always, I think they don't do a good job with the mom aspect of Rain, but at least this episode, they played Ruby to her age. She was talking about making dinner, she was talking about going out with her friends. She wasn't like, Mommy, why aren't you paying attention to me? Why are you working, Mommy? And it seemed like she was finally a girl her age and not an 8-year-old being played by a 16-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Anything else outstandingly good or bad in this episode?
Well, there are a few things that we forgot to mention, which kind of shows their stance. Like, the Luther, Olsen.
I would say don't remind me, but we probably should should cover it just for the sake of this. I don't know why James Olsen, I was gonna say James Luthor. I don't know why James Olsen is still on this show. In season 2, they have this arc where they make him Guardian, and now this season, the only time we've ever seen Guardian is in the crossover.
They killed him.
They killed him in the crossover. That is
they
the
killed
only
him.
time.
How is he still here?
Because that was Earth X Guardian. The only time we have seen Guardian of Earth 38 is he pulled out his shield when he was walking around with Lena around Christmas one time. But other than that, we have not seen him as Guardian. We have not seen him put on the Guardian suit. The only time we have seen the Guardian suit this year is during the Crisis on Earth X crossover, which is okay. Not everybody should be a superhero, but he literally has nothing else to do. He has nothing to do.
They could give him something to do, but then they'd have to focus on him.
Lena, at least you have the Lex connection, where I think that's gonna pay off somewhere down the road, where we will eventually get Lex Luthor on this show. But with Jimmy, it's just
the Guardian of the streets.
Only thing he has going for him in this thing is this Lena relationship, which I can only hope is going to end this season with one of them dying. Because the next season, it'll have whichever one is alive grieving over the loss of the other one. So, please, writers on the CW, if you're gonna give us this Lena James storyline, at least have it end with one of these characters that just don't have anything to do leaving the show. I don't need them to be killed off. If you want to put Guardian on Legends of Tomorrow or spin Guardian off onto another show and just have him pop off, it's fine. He just doesn't fit in this show at all. Is there anything else we forgot to talk about completely that was just so terrible that wasn't worth mentioning? Okay, so let's get to the rating. I'm gonna give this a 6 out of 10.
Is that for the series so far, or just for the
No,
episode?
just for this particular episode. So thanks for finding us. Comment below and subscribe. We'll be back later for both our Flash review and the Black Lightning premiere review.
Oh, that's coming?
That's coming. Black Lightning is back, even though he's never been before.
Not that we've seen.